Welcome back to Fast Market, everyone. Kevin Hinks now back for our cash tag segment. Now I'd like to bring in the co-founder of Likefolio.com, Mr. Landon Swan, to the show. He's going to look at our featured trade today, and that is Celsius, the energy drink. Now, Landon, correct me if I'm wrong, and what does your data say? This Alani Nu acquisition really has energized this company and done a great job focusing on women and with energy drink and supplements mainly for women, but Celsius is the one that's struggling. Yet the stock continues to outperform, Landon. What does your data tell us?
Yeah, I think you pretty much nailed it, Kevin. Happy Monday, by the way. And yeah, I don't know if that was pun intended or not, but they have that acquisition has energized Celsius. So I wouldn't go so far as to say that Celsius, the brand, is really struggling. I think that their growth has slowed a little bit, but they're definitely being outshined by their new acquisition. They paid $1.8 billion for Alani Nu. I think it closed April 1st. And that brand has done something that Celsius and Monster and Red Bull have kind of struggled to do, and that is, hit that women demographic, Gen Z also, but mostly the women demographic. And you can see here on this chart, I mean, that is some incredible growth on a year-over-year basis, and just general interest, web visits, social media, all of that. So plus 144 is a huge number. Those are the kind of numbers we used to see out of Celsius. It's slowing down, but still very, very positive at plus 42, whereas you can see Monster's negative. So they're doing a great job. Celsius, the brand, is doing a good job. And then with this acquisition, they're doing a great job as a company of outperforming the broader energy category. I mean, they pretty much every metric across the board, they're beating them. And so, last quarter they reported plus 9% revenue. Alani Nu chipped in about 40% of Q2 sales at $300 million. So doing extremely well, obviously. And between the two of them now, they've kind of created this behemoth energy drink company that's hitting on all cylinders, because you've got Celsius at 34% household reach and Alani Nu at 22% household reach. When they combine, there's some overlap, so it's not completely a sum, but when they combine, they got about 43% of households use or buy one of these two products. They're internationally growing plus 27% on a year-over-year basis, so they're doing really well. And in the category, like I said, the energy category overall is about plus 15% year-over-year. They're, as a company, plus 29, so almost double. And the stock really shows it. I mean, you've got the stock chart here. I think the stock was about $21 in February. It got as high as 63 recently. It's 60 now. Just ahead of their last earnings report, it was at 42, which was high compared to February. That doubled, but then it went up another 21 points after a great earnings report. And so I think this is a company that has really taken Wall Street by storm. The energy sector is not the same since they've entered, and yet they're still somewhat, small is not the right word, but they're still competing against these big brands. But they're doing, they're holding their own and then some. And I think really this acquisition puts them in a place where they've got a two-pronged attack against the market, where no one's really been able to crack that women category, and they bought their way into it, and now they've got a home run.
Landon, Alex Coffey and I were just discussing earlier in the show how the earnings this quarter have been good, but it hasn't necessarily correlated to higher stock price. Well, you can't say that about Celsius. This stock's up 30% in a month. They had earnings on August 7th, and this stock is sharply higher since then. And it seems like, correct me if I'm wrong again, you're the expert on this, is Alani Nu really uses social media well, and they use influencers really well, and that is so important with a women demographic. They follow trends and influencers, and that really seems to be hitting for them.
That's exactly right. I mean, I think it's just a completely different way of marketing but to male and female, and Alani Nu figured it out. I mean, you can tell by just looking at the cans that they're going after women.
Sure.
It's just got a different style to it. But yeah, they're using influencers, they're using social media, and that's just not something that really was done. I mean, Red Bull to a degree, but if you look at Red Bull's campaigns, it was always, riding a bike off a skyscraper or doing, a triple backflip on a skateboard. That's not hitting women, obviously, right? I mean, that's something totally different. So they had the same kind of approach, but I think it works a lot better when you target it to women and you use those women influencers. So, kudos to them. They figured it out, and, they got a big payday when Celsius bought them, and now Celsius, the new company, the merged company, is doing really well. And you can see on our data here, I wouldn't necessarily call this a divergence. It's more of an agreement, right? I mean, our data is here in that blue line. The stock chart is that dashed white line. And yeah, both of them are hitting highs right now. But, I would say that it's probably got more room to run, because this is, for our data, this is an all-time high. This is the best that we've ever seen. And I'm thinking some of it has to do with that acquisition, obviously, but still, I think this company's still got room. The stock has room to the upside. So even up here in the, the $60 range, I think it's still a potential buy, because it's just, they've nailed it. And they're getting both sides. They're getting both genders, which Monster, Red Bull, they've not been able to do. And, there's a lot of smaller energy companies that are trying to do things like Alani Nu, but they're the winner when it comes to women, and Celsius gobbled them up. So I think this is, I think it's a bright future ahead of this company, and this is just the start.
Yeah, it's so funny you mentioned Red Bull. Red Bull advertises, Landon, with a bunch of things that I'm never going to do in my life. And it's almost like a watch this commercial, right, for Red Bull. And my thought is, how many people's last words have been watch this? It doesn't excite me to go drink your energy drink when you're doing things that I'm never going to jump off a mountain with little wings like they do. But if you appeal to my sense of wellness and exercising and doing those things, all right, maybe you got me there. But Red Bull, I've never understood the crash into things idea from Red Bull, Landon.
I agree. Aren't they the ones, though, that had was it Felix? I forget his last name, jump from basically outer space. And I mean, that was pretty cool. Obviously, you and I are never going to sign up for that.
Another thing I'm never going to do, though, man.
At least it's pretty cool, though. And they've got the thing where they ride homemade, airplanes off the their stick. Right. But you don't see a lot of women going, ooh, that appeals to me. And even for, guys like you and I, it's like, maybe a few decades ago, I could try some of that stuff.
We grew up with Evel Knievel, so we've seen crazy things tried. And Evel Knievel didn't blast any energy drink. He just did it. So, we grew up in where it was actually kind of crazier if you think about it.
It was, and now there's a product for it, right? But I think that basically what it comes down to, though, is you've got, these companies they're effectively selling caffeine. I mean, that's the product, and if it tastes good and it's marketed well, then people are going to buy it, and they've shown that, they're kind of the new kid on the block, Celsius, and they've done a great job of taking market share. And according to our data, they're continuing to take market share, and this acquisition only helps them even more.
Great discussion as always, Landon. I know if this was the 70s, Evel Knievel would be slamming a Red Bull before he jumped over the Snake River Canyon. You know he would. Landon, have a great day. Thanks for coming out as always.